Hello, my name is Matt Shar, and today I am going to explain how to answer a question that skeptics very frequently use as an argument against the existence of God. The question is generally asked in response to theists using a family of arguments called cosmological arguments. Cosmological arguments are used to demonstrate that God is the best explanation for the origin of the material universe. They are generally stated in the following way.
Premise 1. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. Premise 2. The universe began to exist. Conclusion. Therefore, the universe has a cause.
The person who uses this argument will generally go on to offer both scientific and philosophical reasons to support the proposition that the universe began to exist. Then, they will make a series of upward inferences from the effect, the universe, to its cause, a creator God. In response to these kinds of arguments, skeptics may attempt to analyze any claim we make by applying the claim to itself. Applying a claim to itself is a perfectly reasonable method of assessing the validity of an argument. As an example, if a skeptic was to say, "Only science can lead us to truth," we would do well to apply their claim to itself by asking them if they discovered that truth using science. Obviously, the answer to that question is no, because the statement that only science can lead one to truth is a philosophical opinion that cannot be tested scientifically. In response to our claim that the best explanation for the origin of the universe is that the universe was created by God, the skeptic will often attempt to apply our claim to itself by asking the following question.
If God created the universe, then who created God?
In order to answer this question, we only need to clarify a couple of points. First, cosmological arguments do not claim that everything that exists must have a cause. They claim that everything that begins to exist has a cause. By definition, the God we are referring to did not begin to exist, so he does not fall into the category of things that require a cause. However, the skeptic may not be willing to accept this definition of God without further support. In that case, we need to understand the concept of God as the uncaused first cause. The main philosophical reason offered to support the idea that our universe had a beginning is that it is impossible to form an actually infinite series by adding one member after another. As an example, counting to infinity is impossible because there would always be another number to be counted before you would ever reach infinity. The same goes for counting down from negative infinity. You would never arrive at any number in the countdown because there would always be an infinite series of numbers before it. Since past events are real, and we have arrived at the present by adding one event after another, it is reasonable to believe that there have not been an infinite number of past events. Because if there had been an actually infinite number of past events, then, at any given time, an actually infinite series of events would have been formed by adding one event after another. Simply put, if the past was infinite, we would never have arrived at now. To put this in a more concrete way, we can picture the past history of causes and effects in our universe as a series of dominoes. Each domino in the series is caused to fall by the domino before it. Then, when that domino falls, it is the cause that brings about the effect of the next domino falling, which is the cause of the effect of the next domino falling, and so on. If we were to watch the history of the universe in reverse and follow each domino in the series to the one before it, or every effect back to its cause, eventually we would arrive at a first domino. This domino would have to have been pushed by something outside the series. The first domino falling represents the beginning of the material universe, and the initiation of the series of material causes and effects that have led up to the present moment. Since this series of effects and their causes cannot stretch back and back infinitely into the past, there has to be a first cause which was not caused by anything else. This brings us to the concept of God as the uncaused first cause. According to theism, God is the one who pushed the first domino, causing the universe to begin to exist. When a theist uses the term God, they are referring to the uncaused first cause that set the whole series in motion. If the skeptic denies that there has to have been a first cause, then the skeptic's reasoning will result in something called an infinite regress. As an example of an infinite regress, imagine a person was to argue that the earth was held up by a giant turtle. Then, when you asked what held up the turtle, they said, another turtle, which was held up by another turtle, and this explanation went on and on infinitely. Following the skeptic's reasoning to its logical end would result in an infinite regress, because we could ask who created God's creator and who created the creator of God's creator, and on infinitely. This would require an actually infinite series to be formed by adding one member after another, which, as we just discussed, is not possible. The only other option is to arbitrarily place a stopping point in the series of creators and terminate the infinite regress. In order to terminate the infinite regress, the skeptic will have to admit that one of the creators in the line was not created by anyone else, at which point we should explain that the uncreated first creator is who we are referring to as God. All of that being said, we can help them to understand the error in their reasoning by showing them that asking who created God is synonymous with asking the following questions.
Who caused the uncaused first cause? Or, who created the uncreated creator?
These questions are equivalent to asking who made a square circle or to whom the bachelor is married. God is eternal and does not owe any aspect of his existence to anything outside of himself. Therefore, he does not need a creator, or any other cause that brought him into existence.
The following question would also result in an infinite regress. If God designed the universe, then who designed God?
In summary, we learned that cosmological arguments are used to show that God is the best explanation for the origin of the universe by showing that the universe began to exist and therefore has a cause. Then we learned one of the main philosophical reasons to think that there has to have been a first cause, namely the impossibility of forming an actually infinite series by adding one member after another, and how denying this fact would result in an infinite regress. Then we learned that by God we mean the uncaused first cause, so asking the question, who created God, is synonymous with asking, who caused the uncaused first cause, which is logically equivalent to asking, who created the square circle, or to whom a bachelor is married. In closing, asking who created God, as though it is an argument against God's existence, demonstrates a very clear lack of critical thinking on the part of the skeptic. If your skeptical friend has been fooled by this argument, then there is a good chance that they have accepted other arguments against God's existence without first subjecting them to critical examination. We should lovingly point out the error in their thinking, while also stressing the importance of not accepting the conclusions of any arguments without carefully examining them first. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.